Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. Today we're talking about the Thompson Center Contender, a gun that once strode like a giant across the annals of sports handgun hunting and silhouette competition, but has become somewhat more obscure in recent years. This is a single-shot pistol. It uses the trigger guard as an opening lever and has a simple extractor rather than an ejector, and these are very, very frequently seen with scopes. The Thompson Center Contender was introduced in 1967 and was in continuous production until the year 2000. Since then, it has been kind of put back into production at least once, and there are still frames available from the new production, which are stainless steel. Now, there were a lot of variations of this gun because its big party trick was that it is modular. It is very easy to change out the barrel. It is very easy to change it from rimfire to centerfire. The gun has 2 firing pins and a selector mechanism for determining which type you're shooting. It's all very clever, and they're very well made. And we'll have a closer look at their features on the tabletop, but first, let's take it to the range and see what I can do.
Looks like you got 2 holes in it. I think so. Yeah, you did. That was a great target, wasn't it? It had a couple of finishes on it.
So with the Thompson Center Contender, I would have to say it would be inadvisable for me to shoot at anything at this range. But like everything, it's a matter of practice, so we'll see if I can get it dialed in a little better next time out. Not impressive, but that's me, not the gun. I might have actually done better firing it offhand because I'm really not used to firing pistols from a rest. This is the cartridge that my example fires. This is .222 Remington. And from this gun, it's shooting a 50 grain bullet at 2,650 feet per second, which is pretty respectable. And of course, shooting at 100 yards is probably well within the gun's capabilities. It's going to take some practice before it's within mine. Although I've hit with revolvers with iron sights at that range, but again, it's a matter of practice. Now, while mine is in .222 Remington, originally this was introduced in .22 long rifle, .22 Magnum, there's a whole list of cartridges, .22 Hornet, .38 Special, .22 Jet, and other cartridges up to .30-30. And eventually they were introduced in .35 Remington and .45-70, and the aftermarket produced barrels in an astonishing variety of calibers. And it was, of course, a great favorite for wildcatters because it was very easy to get a barrel and make what you wanted from it. Easy as such things go. And They had the Super 14 configuration, which had a 14-inch barrel. They had bull barrels. They had a 45 Colt 410. They had a 44 Magnum, which was available with a choke, a removable choke for shooting 44 Magnum shot shells. They even introduced a 18.5-inch barreled smoothbore to fire 410 exclusively. And they really played into the modularity of the system, and that's what made it really popular. They frequently mount scopes. This one has an older Leopold unit. This gun was made in 1975, and I'm pretty sure the scope is contemporary. I can't get the proper eye relief, so I'm a little bit handicapped by having to hold the gun slightly weird to be able to see properly through it. But very interesting gun. This is the octagon barreled version, which has, let's see, I think this is a 10-inch barrel. And it did come equipped with iron sights, but this completely replaces the rear sight assembly. So, it's an interesting gun, and I've always wanted one, but I could never justify the expense, given that I was always pretty much on a very tight budget and had bigger fish to fry, but I always admired them and wanted one. So let's take it to the tabletop, and I'll show you how the Thompson Center Contender do. So the Thompson Center Contender is a large gun, which you'd kind of want for something shooting calibers as potent as 30-30, 35 Remington, and 45-70. I think there was actually somebody made an aftermarket version in 458 Winchester Magnum, which is a cartridge for shooting the largest of large game. Now, the operation is very simple. Now you can see the hammer is slightly off the ejector or the firing pin here, but it's not actually at the cock notch. This is kind of a safety thing, because with the hammer fully down, which I can't do right now. Okay, the hammer is fully down, and you will see that when you operate the lever, it cams the hammer back to a safe position where it can't strike the firing pin. And you just open it up, insert your cartridge, close it, and you can then cock the hammer and fire. Now they make a device that sticks, a little screw-on device that sticks off to the side for scoped versions. I don't have that yet. And the guns are made for accuracy. You can see it has a target-style grip, feels very good in the hand, and gives very good support to the gun. The trigger pull, according to the handy-dandy Lyman trigger gauge, is 1.5 pounds. And as you can see, it has very little travel. And it is adjustable for over travel. Some early versions were adjustable for the length of pull, too. There were endless variations of this over the years, and two distinct groupings of models. And this is an earlier gun in the first group of variants. So, again, the party trick of this gun was its modularity, because you can simply pull off the foregrip, and I am told they have different foregrips for octagonal barrels, round barrels, and bull barrels. And then you can push out this pin and simply remove the barrel. I don't know if I really want to do that. We'll give it a little bit of a shot. It's sometimes a little picky. And there you are. Now this is not a captured pin. I just didn't push it out any further than it needed to be. And of course there's the ejector, or extractor rather, which is mechanically cammed back by the system. It is not spring-loaded. And see, it's all very nicely machined, very well made, and very simple. And it's really kind of a tactile delight. Now this version has the Cougar machine engraved on the sides. And I'm told that other models had other things engraved on them. And reassembly, of course, is exactly the opposite. You just, it works better if one has the mechanism broken, and then it just pops right in. Again, I've only had this for a few days, so I'm not very familiar yet with the intricacies, and since I have no spare barrels, I haven't had occasion to change them. Now you can see this post under the barrel, and there is a simple spring plunger that engages that to hold the forestock on. And I had no issues with it popping off. It's quite securely held. And of course, there were a large variety of scope mounts. When the gun was introduced, there were not a lot of pistol scopes in 1967. But the field blossomed with the popularization of handgun hunting. And of course, for silhouette shooting, you would have iron sights, I believe. And all in all, it's just a really neat package, and you could buy one receiver and as many barrels as you wanted, and you could invent your own cartridges if you were so inclined and so capable. And it's a very simple gun, but it's very well thought out and very well engineered. Oh yes, I did want to show you how you change from rimfire. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on this. So you can see a screw here, and one side of the screw next to the slot is higher than the other. And to switch to rimfire, you simply rotate the screw 180 degrees so that it can strike the upper of the two firing pins and give you rimfire ignition. But with it in this position, it strikes the lower firing pin for center fire. So let me, take my word for it. And with that 1.5 pound trigger pull, trigger discipline is absolutely essential, because some very potent cartridges, and you don't want to send one downrange unintentionally. But just a really cool gun. Oh, and if you take out these two screws, it will expose another screw that secures the grip to the Tang style grip frame, which is very cool because you can put not just different length barrels and different forms on it, you can actually put a wide variety of different styles of hand grips on it. And of course, there were aftermarket hand grips in addition to several flavors of factory ones. But really nice gun, and really not at all unpleasant to shoot in .222 Remington. It's a reasonably potent cartridge, but the weight of the gun and the shape of the handle and lots of support through the webbing, it's actually really quite comfortable. So the Thompson Center Contender, in terms of single-shot pistols at least, really had the potential to be all guns to all people. And they were prominently used as hunting weapons, for silhouette shooting, other types of long-range target shooting. There was a carbine version in a variety of calibers with an actual proper buttstock and 16 or longer inch barrels, aftermarket grips, aftermarket forestocks. They were just really, really versatile, and you could get one and make the gun you wanted out of it, even up to and including making your own cartridge to fire out of it. And they're just really cool, and I've always loved them. I've just never been able to justify spending what they cost, because they were never horribly expensive, but they weren't inexpensive either. And of course, there's the whole slippery slope of once you have one, you start looking around for barrels and different optics, and any AR-15 owner can tell you what that rabbit hole is like and how deep it goes. But so a very cool, very classic gun. There are scads and scads of them out there, but they fetch pretty reasonable money these days, because they're very specialized. Within that specialty, they're very, very good. And there's a lot of products out there in support of them even today. So, the Thompson Center Contender. Modular when modular wasn't cool. And I'm very pleased to have one finally, and I'm going to put in some practice and see if I can't improve on those 100-yard groups, because I am absolutely certain that that was me, not the gun. And of course, they're off to the right because I didn't actually sight this in yet. Given my group size at 100 yards, I thought sighting it in at 100 yards would be rather pointless. So I'll do it at 50 yards and see if I can't get it dialed in, and then practice and get better results. Of course, now I'm going to have to get reloading dies. Remember that rabbit hole I mentioned? Going to have to get reloading dies for 222 because this is not inexpensive ammunition. I should mention these are Hornady Superformance Varmint rounds that have the ballistic cap and a hollow point. And like I said, even out of a 10-inch barrel, they're really quite potent. These are supposed to get 3,300 feet per second out of an unspecified rifle length barrel. And I'm pretty sure they probably do. So, yeah, neat cartridge, neat gun. And thank you all very much for watching. I'd like to shout out to my supporters on Patreon. This is very much a shoestring operation, and your contributions help more than you know. I'd also like to thank channel benefactors, those individuals and businesses who have contributed to the channel in innumerable ways and really helped make it work. I'd like to thank Rain City Shooting Center for providing material support to the channel, and a shout out to Renton Fish and Game, the rifle range where I was shooting today. So, that's it for this time. I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to you again real soon.